This is Louis XIII, Draw My Life.
By Asher,
Hannah,
and Liz.
Louis XIII was born in France on September 27, 1601. His mother was Marie de Medici and his father was King Henry IV. When Louis was growing up, there were religious tensions between Catholics and French Huguenots, which are French Protestants. His father Henry wrote the Edict of Nantes, which granted Protestant rights to try and release some of the tension between the two groups, but eventually King Henry was assassinated in 1610. After the assassination, he came to crown at just 9 years old, but his mother was his regent. As regent, his mother worked against most of what Henry IV was implementing and tried to ally with Spain and Austria, which is a big no-no because Henry IV was actually trying to go to war with them beforehand and had a bunch of differing ideals. She made a big mess of things, and it was also at this time that Louis was married to Anne of Austria at the ripe age of 14, obviously because his mom wanted an alliance between Spain and Austria. The marriage wasn't really a match made in heaven, as he didn't love her, and she had trouble giving him an heir.
Although she did have a lot of stillborn.
While this was going on, his mother still acted as his regent until he was 16 years old. But when he took power in 1617, he exiled his mother and executed all of her followers. Yikes. Louis XIII then appointed Cardinal Richelieu to govern France. During his lifetime, he relied heavily on Cardinal because he was supposedly mentally ill and unstable, even though he was skilled on the battlefield. Richelieu was really important in a couple key areas. First of all, Richelieu was able to make alliances with the Protestants. He also helped restrain the Habsburg influence on France, and he opposed Spain and Austria. He and Louis XIII also were important as they ended the revolt of French nobility and depleted the noble power. He did this by denouncing noble use of private armies. It was also during this time that Louis let his mom come back from exile. When his mother came back, he tried to get the cardinal denounced, so Louis XIII did the savage thing and sent his mom away again for a second time. Yeah, she was exiled. This was important as it showed that he kind of put the state, or the French nation, before his family ties. The greatest victory during his reign was a significant reduction of Huguenots. So, although Louis did not directly oppose Protestantism, he believed that the Edict of Nantes needed to be repealed as it allowed the Huguenots to essentially have a nation within a nation. Although it was eventually his son, Louis XIV, that got rid of the Edict of Nantes, he was able to drain power of the Huguenots by breaking up their armies. Another amazing victory for France was when the French defeated the Spanish at the Battle of Rocroi, 5 days after Louis died, but it was still under his rule. Cardinal Richelieu suggested that France retreat, but miraculously Louis XIII decided against this. This battle marked the final decline of the Spanish army and the beginning of France's military dominance. Before the end of his life, in 1638, Louis finally had their first heir named Louis XIV. I know, what a shocker. Louis XIV would then be the one to take the crown after that. And then in 1640, he had his second son named Felipe. Louis XIII died from tuberculosis on May 14th in 1643, 3 years after Felipe was born. So what exactly was the legacy of Louis XIII? The first key thing that Louis did was solidify absolutism, or supreme authority. Instead of bowing to the power of the nobles, Louis took away some of the power by killing opposition and not allowing nobles private forces, which is inclusive of duels, carrying weapons, and maintaining private armies. He also enforced absolutism through taking power away from French Protestants, allowing them to be a part of France, but not withhold enough power to truly revolt. Another key thing that Louis was able to do was to put the well-being of France in front of his own feelings. In comparison to his mother, who allowed people close to her to maintain positions, he did not intensely give privileges to those in his private life, and even banished his mother twice, as she was a threat to France. Lastly, through the many successes against Spain, he was a key part to the downfall of Spain as a power. These victories in battle also solidified the rise of France as a global power and set up the rule of his son Louis XIV. Louis XIV would later become what's known as the Sun King and would solidify his power through showing his military strength, but eventually would lead France into debt. And that was the life of Louis XIII.